Christmas is around the corner, so I'm going to geek out on my favorite Home Alone scenes and use them as inspiration to create a hypothetical new Home Alone movie. You're welcome. And keep the change, you filthy animal.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
JC, how will you choose from the countless hilarious and heartfelt scenes? I need some shape to the story, so I will focus on the 5 key beats. The 5 key beats are major turning points to hang the rest of the story on. Remember my Disney Renaissance video? Yeah, basically that, but Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Haven't seen Home Alone? All you need to know is an 8-year-old Kevin McAllister mistakenly left home alone must defend his home against a pair of burglars on Christmas Eve. And 1 year later, Kevin McAllister accidentally finds himself stranded in New York City, and the same criminals are not far behind. That's it. There will be no mention of any other Home Alone type movies in this video. Why? Because Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All I want for Christmas is to focus on the 2 I've seen. First up is the inciting incident is the catalyst for the story. Something happens to the protagonist to disrupt their life or call them into action. We know what this is for Kevin McAllister.
I made my family disappear.
Feeling ostracized by the rest of his family, Kevin wishes he did not have a family.
Everyone in this family hates me.
Then maybe you should ask Santa for a new family.
I don't want a new family. I don't want any family.
You'd feel pretty sad if you woke up tomorrow morning and you didn't have a family.
No, I wouldn't.
Then say it again. Maybe it'll happen.
I hope I never see any of you jerks again.
It's what leads him to being banished to the 3rd floor, where his family proceed to leave him behind the next morning. What makes the inciting incident so effective is the implied element of magic. Why? Christmas.
I wish they would all just disappear.
After Kevin makes his wish, the storm cuts the power. The circumstances are now rife for his family to forget about him.
Peter! We slept in!
If you are writing a Christmas movie, think about how the connotations of Christmas itself can influence your story, particularly your inciting incident. This element of maybe it's magic is continued throughout both movies. This makes sense because the movie's protagonist is a young boy who probably believes in magic. Like I do. An example is this scene where Kevin asks Santa's employee for help.
But I also know that you work for him. I'd like you to give him a message.
Shoot.
Would you please tell him that instead of presents this year, I just want my family back?
And again when Kevin asks the Christmas tree to see his mother once more.
Promise me I can see her again. Sometime, anytime. Even if it's just once and only for a couple of minutes. I just need to tell her I'm sorry.
The inciting incident in Home Alone 2 is when Kevin is separated from the rest of his family at the airport. Wait! This time, there's less of the maybe it's magic in this key beat, as we see the missteps in the lead up. The dad unplugs the alarm clock, meaning they sleep in.
We did it again!
Kevin stops to put new batteries in the recorder, and a passenger dressed like his dad leads Kevin to a different gate. It's compounding coincidences that disrupt Kevin's life.
What city is that over there?
That's New York, sir.
Yikes, I did it again.
It makes sense, because no one wants to watch the exact same movie twice. So instead, the maybe it's magic element is reserved for the burglar storyline, as if Christmas itself is conspiring for Kevin to stop the thieves.
Another Christmas in the trenches.
Our first hint of this is when a newspaper arrives on Kevin's door just before the inciting incident. The inciting incident should also hint at the protagonist's want and need. Kevin wants to go on holiday by himself. He even says,
If I had my own money, I'd go on my own vacation without any of you guys, and I'd have the most fun in my whole life.
when it comes to his need, it is offhandedly mentioned in the opening of the movie.
Why do we have to go to Florida? There's no Christmas trees in Florida.
Kevin, what is it with you and Christmas trees?
How could you have Christmas without a Christmas tree, Mom?
What he needs is to be with his family around a big Christmas tree on Christmas Day. The want and need are polar opposites, which is why it is so engaging to watch Kevin battle between these two ideas throughout the movie.
Good night, Mom.
Good night, Kevin.
Can you make your inciting incident reveal your protagonist's want and need? For my MASH, I will take inspiration from what I think is the strongest inciting incident.
I didn't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life, and I didn't want to see anybody else either.
I hope you don't mean that.
It's such a powerful scene demonstrating the disconnect between mother and son, and makes us emotionally invest in the rest of the story. So I want to create a similar vibe. Except this time, Kevin McAllister is all grown up. He's a dad, and he's about to get a taste of his own medicine. His daughter, Megan, feels like the black sheep of the family, wishing she did not have a family. She does not want to spend Christmas in Hawaii. She wants to spend Christmas with Grandma Kate. Kevin banishes Megan to her bedroom, and with some maybe it's magic, she's forgotten about the next morning. The first act turn is a direct response to the inciting incident. It is the moment the protagonist leaves the ordinary world and enters the extraordinary world. After the inciting incident, when Kevin realizes he is, in fact, home alone, he has the time of his life.
Guys, I'm eating junk and watching rubbish. You better come out and stop me.
But it is only short-lived. The burglars arrive at his house, and Kevin only manages to deter them from entering just in time. How does your first act turn push the story into the extraordinary? The first act turn also creates a change of plan for Kevin. His time alone cannot just be fun and games. He must take on the responsibility of protecting his home and himself. This is dramatized first by the fact that he is so scared to do just that. How can you dramatize and add weight to the protagonist's change of plan in your story? What is so brilliant about the first act turn in Home Alone is how there's two key moments that create this shift for the audience. The first is when Kevin's mum, Kate, realizes they've left Kevin at home. Kevin! Followed immediately by the burglars showing up at Kevin's house. It makes sense that they've structurally stacked the scenes like this, as Kate continues to have a point of view throughout the rest of the movie. Would something like this be useful in the story you wish to tell? Tell me in the comments below. Again, that maybe it's magic element is sprinkled into the first act turn. Kevin calls out to Kate, "Mom!" perhaps prompting her to remember him in the first place. Remember, Christmas, we want magic. The first act turn is when the protagonist consciously decides to go after their want. For Kevin in Home Alone 2, he actively does this by entering the fancy hotel. He told us what he wants.
If I had my own money, I'd go on my own vacation.
It makes sense that he will do whatever it takes to get a room here.
Give me his credit card and said whoever was checking people in to let me in the hotel room so I won't get into mischief. And ma'am, sometimes I do get into mischief. We all do.
How does your protagonist decide to go after their want in your story? Tell me in the comments below. What is so brilliant about the first act turn in Home Alone 2 is how two key moments create this shift for the audience. The first is when Kevin crosses paths with the burglars in New York, followed immediately by Kevin entering the hotel. The maybe it's magic is at play once again, but it also raises the story stakes. If these characters can cross paths once, surely they can do it again. How can your first act turn raise the story stakes? For my MASH, I will take inspiration from what I think is the strongest first act turn. Kevin's decision to stay at this hotel means meeting these three characters. And honestly, these characters elevate this movie.
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly!
Their inclusion not only gives the audience something fresh after having watched the first Home Alone movie. Remember, no one wants to watch the exact same movie twice. But they also create many obstacles for Kevin, keeping him on his toes. So as soon as Megan realizes she's been left home alone, she actively goes after what she wants. And that is to spend Christmas with Grandma Kate. She takes her things and leaves the safety of home to bus to her grandparents' house. This house. But when she arrives, Grandma isn't home. Where could she be? And oh my goodness, look who's out of prison and is planning on robbing the house that got away. And uh-oh, Kevin realizes he's forgotten Megan. He calls his mother, assuming Megan's next move, but Kate reminds him she's in New York. Now the race is on to see who can get home to Megan first. The midpoint, also known as the point of no return. It is usually a direct consequence of the inciting incident. But the midpoint can also be an emotional tipping point for the protagonist. The midpoint of Home Alone is a direct consequence of the inciting incident. From wishing he no longer had a family, and now wishing they would come back.
I'll never be a pain in the butt again. I promise.
It's a simple yet heartfelt scene where the audience sees Kevin's growth. How can you tip your protagonist's emotions at the midpoint? Again, Kate gets her own midpoint before Kevin's scene. She manages to bargain her way out of Paris to return to Kevin.
I'm begging you, from a mother to a mother, please.
The midpoint is when the protagonist is closest to their want and furthest from their need, or vice versa.
What's the matter? Store wouldn't take your stolen credit card.
In the Home Alone 2 midpoint, the hotel staff confront Kevin about the stolen credit card. Kevin daringly escapes with the intention of returning home.
I've had enough of this vacation. I'm going home.
So Kevin is furthest from his want of a solo fancy holiday and closest to his need of reuniting with his family. How can your midpoint position your protagonist with their want and need? That is until the subsequent scene when the burglars ambush Kevin. They rip up his return flight home. He is now stranded in New York.
He's in the park. He's alone.
Grown men come in the park and don't leave alive.
Yeah.
Good luck, little fella.
So the midpoint has trapped Kevin on a runaway train and he has no choice but to go on. Is your protagonist on a runaway train? For my mash, I will take inspiration from what I think is the strongest midpoint. Both. The emotional tipping point is super sweet here. But this majorly raises the stakes. After a few close encounters with Grandma's nosy neighbor, I'm assuming this guy all grown up,
You know if it's cold there? How fast does this thing go? Does it have automatic transmission?
Megan scares him off for good so she can relax in peace. Only to realize she didn't mind the intrusion after all. It made her forget how lonely she is. Meanwhile, Kevin and Kate converge at the same airport at the same time. How could Kevin let this happen to Kate's youngest grandchild? Kevin reminds Kate how easy such things can be. The all is lost is what it sounds like. All is lost. It is a low point that occurs at the end of Act 2, just before the protagonist lunges into Act 3. Truly pining for his family, Kevin ends up at the church.
I've been kind of a pain lately. I said some things I shouldn't have. I really haven't been too good this year.
Here he opens up to his neighbour about his mistakes. His neighbour does the same, allowing Kevin to find courage to make things up with his family, which first means outsmarting the burglars in the showdown.
This is my house. I have to defend it.
Therefore, raising the stakes for the rest of the story, Kevin is willing to put himself into danger in hopes of getting his family back. How does your low point raise the stakes for your protagonist? The all is lost moment usually encapsulates the meaning or theme of the movie. Nowhere is this more truer than Home Alone, when Kevin advises his neighbour to make up with his family, especially because it's Christmas. Christmas!
My point is, you should call your son, and he won't have to be afraid anymore. I don't care how mad I was, I'd talk to my dad, especially around the holidays.
Have you thought about how you can include your theme in the all is lost moment? Home Alone 2 repeats the same emotional beats of Kevin pining for his family, advising a stranger, and then preparing the trap for the burglars. But this time, this sequence comes earlier, soon after the midpoint. So what is the all is lost moment? Well, it focuses on Kate. She arrives at the hotel to learn the staff have scared Kevin away.
What kind of idiots do you have working here?
The finest in New York.
The all is lost moment can also be when the protagonist thinks they will never achieve their want.
It's Christmas Eve, and because of you, our child is lost in one of the biggest cities in the world.
She's prepared to go out on the streets and look for him herself, emotionally priming the audience for the movie's climax, but more on that soon.
Teeth. Do bundle up, it's awfully cold outside.
Have you taken away every option your protagonist has to achieve their want by this point? If not, do it! For my MASH, I will take inspiration from what I think is the strongest all is lost moment. The conversation between Kevin and his neighbor is so heartwarming and perfectly encapsulates the theme of the movie. Exactly what you want for a Christmas movie. Christmas! So let's do something similar. Megan knocks on the nosy neighbor's door to apologize. She explains her situation and why she scared him off in the first place. The neighbor also apologizes for being nosy. He knows he can be annoying. Must be why his family didn't invite him to Christmas this year. Aww. Megan decides they will spend their Christmas day together tomorrow, once she has saved Grandma's house from the burglars, of course. The climax is usually the final confrontation with the antagonist, where the protagonist should pull out all the stops to win. Kevin does pull out all the stops. He repeatedly tricks the burglars into injuring themselves. However, the climax comes when the burglars outsmart Kevin and they literally back him against a door.
I'm gonna burn his head with a blowtorch.
You can smash his face with an iron.
The neighbor rescues him, bringing the final confrontation to a close. It could have been incredibly frustrating for the audience to invest in Kevin all the way through the film, only to have the neighbor close out the final confrontation. But here's why I think it works. A. Kevin's a kid. It's a family movie. It's an appropriate conclusion for the target audience. B. This cathartic moment is earned because of what the neighbor provides Kevin throughout the movie. He is someone Kevin is scared of, providing an obstacle each time he leaves the house. And through him, we see Kevin's growth when he decides to trust the neighbor, which is solidified in the climax in this moment. What obstacles or challenges can you put in your protagonist's path so they earn this cathartic moment? In Home Alone 2, Kevin defeats the burglars, but he's still lost in a big city. That's a problem. So the climax is achieved when mother and son are reunited. The climax should also be the moment when your protagonist achieves their want and or need. Remember what his need was?
He deserves to be at home with his own family around his Christmas tree.
That's right. His need is achieved at this moment, which is why it is so satisfying to watch. For my MASH, I will take inspiration from what I think is the strongest climax. Both. So Megan pulls out all the stops to protect her grandmother's house. She tricks the burglars into injuring themselves. They're much older now, so this is gonna be brutal. But they outsmart her and she is now trapped. What is she going to do? That's when Kevin and Kate arrive home to rescue her. Yes! Go Team McAllisters! Until the next MASH, bye! If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. She wants to spend Christmas with Grandma Kate. Grandma Kate. Is anyone else really excited for Christmas? Just me? Just me. Okay. And if you want more Christmas content, check out this one. You're coming on my lap? Okay, isn't that fun? Thank you for visiting.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and a Happy New Year.